If you've gotten a piece of mail and it has the words Lis Pendens on it, or you've seen that phrase on a court document, I want you to stay with me for the next 10 minutes or so. Because here's what most people do when they see that. They panic. They assume the worst and they think it's all over. And I'm going to show you why that kind of thinking costs people their options. A Lis Pendens is not the end of the road. It's an actual signpost that tells you exactly where you're at in the process and how much time you have left to make a move. My name is Jim Armstrong. I'm an SFR realtor with Momentum Realty here in Jacksonville, Florida. SFR stands for Short Sales and Foreclosure Resource. It's a certification I received from the National Association of Realtors through the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors. I help distressed homeowners navigate this process, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what a Lis Pendens is, what it's not, and what your real options look like from here. Lis Pendens is Latin. It literally translates to suit pending or pending lawsuit. Here's what it means in plain English. When a lender decides to begin the foreclosure process in Florida, they cannot just take your home. They have to go to court because Florida is a judicial foreclosure state. That means the bank has to file a lawsuit, go before a judge, and get a court order before anything happens to your home. The Lis Pendens is the official notice that gets filed with the court and recorded in the public record. It is the lender saying, we have filed lawsuit against this property. That's it. It's a notice of a lawsuit. It's not a judgment. It's not an eviction notice. And it's not a foreclosure sale date. It's just the beginning of the legal process, not the end. And here's one key piece I want you to hear. Between the Lis Pendens being filed and your home actually going to the foreclosure auction, typically lands somewhere between 90 to 120 days. I've seen this process in Florida drag out much longer, sometimes more like a year. This typically happens when homeowners understand their position and the options and what actions to take. The clock is running, but you have more time than you think. Let me walk you through what the foreclosure process actually looks like in Florida, because understanding your timeline is everything. It starts with the first missed payment. That puts you in default. After 90 to 120 days of missed payments, the lender sends you something called a notice of default, or an NOD. That is your first formal warning that the foreclosure process is beginning. If nothing changes after that default, the lender hires an attorney. That attorney files a lawsuit. And part of that filing is the Lis Pendens. The document gets recorded in the public record, and that's what shows up in your mailbox. Now here's where it gets important. After the Lis Pendens is filed, the case goes into the Florida court system. There are hearings, there's waiting periods, and a summary judgment process. All of that takes time, typically another 90 to 120 days at minimum, often much longer. Then and only then does the foreclosure sale date get set. And even after that date, there are still things that can change it. So if you just received a Lis Pendens notice, you are likely somewhere in the middle of that process, not at the end of it. Now, what can you actually do with the time that you have? Here's what I want every homeowner watching this to understand. Having a Lis Pendens filed against you does not mean you're out of options. It means you need to understand your options clearly and move on them. Let me walk you through the main ones. Option number one, catch up on payments. If you can bring your account current, meaning you can pay all the missed payments plus any fees that the lender has incurred, the foreclosure process stops. This is called reinstatement. It's the cleanest outcome if financially possible. Option two, loan modification or forbearance. If catching up all at once is not possible, you may be eligible for a loan modification, where the lender adjusts your payments or your terms, or a forbearance, where they allow you to pause or reduce your payments temporarily. These are loss mitigation options, and your lender is actually required to evaluate you for them before they can proceed with the foreclosure. The key is you have to apply and respond to their requests. Option three, a short sale. If the numbers don't work, meaning you owe more on the property than it's worth, or selling costs more than what you would net, a short sale may be the right path. A short sale is when the lender agrees to accept less than the full amount owed to allow the sale to happen. Your home sells, the debt is resolved, and you avoid the foreclosure judgment on your record. This is my specialty, as an SFR certified specifically to help homeowners in this situation navigate the short sale process. Option four, deed in lieu. In some situations, a lender will allow you to simply sign the deed back over to them rather than going through the full foreclosure process. It avoids the public auction, but it does require the lender's agreement. And there are pitfalls of this also. Consult a foreclosure defense attorney. Depending on your situation, especially where there are legal issues and how the loan was originated or serviced, a foreclosure defense attorney may be able to slow or challenge the process. I'm not an attorney and I can't give you legal advice, but I can tell you that having an attorney review your situation is always worth exploring. And I will always refer you to one. The point is, you have options, but they all have one thing in common. They require your action, and they require it before the timeline runs out. So here's the practical takeaway from everything I just told you. If you've received a Lis Pendens notice, or you're behind on your payments and you're worried that one's coming, the single most important thing you can do right now is get clear on where you're at in the timeline. Go to the Clerk of Court's website for your county and search your property address and pull up the active docket. It'll show you exactly where the case stands, whether a summary judgment has been scheduled, or whether a sale date has been set, or whether the case is still early in the process where it might show just Lis Pendens. Once you know where you stand, your options become much clearer. And if you want to talk through what those options look like for your specific situation, that's exactly what I do. I offer a free 30-minute strategy call. No pressure, no obligation. We look at your timeline, your loan type, and your situation, and we walk through what makes the most sense. The link to book that call is in the description. You're not out of options. You just need to know what they are and move on them before the window closes. If this video helps you understand what a Lis Pendens actually means, do me a favor and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Too many people panic and do nothing when they get that document, and that silence is what costs them their options. If you're a real estate agent watching this and you have a client in this situation, reach out. I could talk with you about the different situations and how a short sale works. We can also talk about consultation and referral situations. Either way, the end goal is that your client gets help and the short sale process is carried out properly. I'm Jim Armstrong with Momentum Realty here in Jacksonville, Florida. Subscribe if you want to stay current on what's happening in the Northeast Florida distressed property market, and I'll see you on the next one.